She's took
Okay.
yours?
with Regis and Kelly.
Yeah. She was like, this is a nice pen. But I know.
Even had another pen in here.
So I just keep buying all
I don't
these
know.
You need a pen?
gel pens from,
Okay.
Did you?
No, I have a pen. No, I actually have an extra
just
pen.
have one that I really like. I was being a baby.
I always buy them gel
All right,
pens.
let's do it.
Keith will be in a minute. He was out in a truck
Get her started.
running business.
Yeah?
It's
Get her
5:30.
started? Okay. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education and Public to conduct the school district's updates, planning, and learning. And it is not to be considered a public board meeting that conducts school district business. This meeting is now called to order. It's 5:31. Please rise and say the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, good evening, good night.
Burning the midnight oil that day.
That was perfect timing.
That was. Perfect. There you go. You gotta make that
sorry.
sucker fall down, there you go.
Jeez, I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, I need a roll call of attendance.
Audrey Kostick,
Here.
Mike Powers.
Yep.
Ed Robinson.
Here.
Jennifer Gonzalez.
Here.
And Keith Castenson.
Here.
Great. Okay, verification public notice pursuant to 19.841 Wisconsin statutes.
Meeting is posted in all the usual spots, schoolhouse stores, village hall, e-vergent, online, media were notified and are present.
Okay, excellent.
Right.
All right, moving on to the meat. Topics for learning and discussion, and/or discussion in this meeting. First one will be WASB Resource Showcase.
Yes, so I had sent out an email to the board. The purpose of the workshops is just, again, learning. We're not making this formalized. You'll notice no nameplates, no mics. We're just trying to have a meeting to help grow the capacity of the board. That's the purpose of this workshop. If the public would like to come, they're more than welcome to come, but we're really just here for you. So what I need from you is any insights, questions, things you want me to dive into, things you're hearing, you want to learn more about. I will always have something. There's always, they're really, it seems like, oh, can't we have an off month? Sure. Decide if the board doesn't want to do one at a certain point. But there's always, in my opinion, something to update or learn or figure out. And I'd rather do it here than in a board meeting.
Right.
When you're kind of diving into something for the first time.
Or when something comes up and we.
Right,
Are-
and we're reactive versus proactive.
Right, exactly. I-
So again, tonight's meeting will not be super long, but it's just meant to be, hey, this is coming down the pike, here's some stuff going on, and I want you to know about it, so that way you can be educated and continue to learn, because you have a hard job. You really do. So, these items just have popped in conversations as Audrey and I have talked, or as I've thought about things that we're currently working on. So these are the big four topics of today. The first thing we'll do is go through, again, the WASB portal, and I'll show you some good resources, and we'll pull one of those and kind of go through just a basic overview of Robert's Rules of Order. Many of you know how Robert's Rules works. We're not going to belabor this more than a few minutes, but just, hey, some things to think of. I'll share a resource that you can look back on. And the theme with WASB is like, careful what you wish for, because they've got resources for everything. I mean, it's unbelievable, the substantial stuff they've got on their.
Have you all enrolled in the WASB?
I think I did.
I get emails.
But
What, you get
Yeah.
emails?
Yeah,
Yeah, have you gone in and looked at some of the things?
who's Robert?
not a lot.
No?
Robert's Rules
It's
is the person that created the structure.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
It's-
hundreds of years ago
Yep,
in London
this
Parliament.
fella.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. And we've adopted that a long time ago. So this is the website I'd encourage you to go to. I know we all don't have the luxury of time, but if you're ever kind of sitting somewhere and you feel like, I'll just bug in there a little bit, you log in. If you need to update, I did send you credentials with your email and then your username, password. When you go in, then it'll give you your portal, and it shows you all around. This is obviously my login here, so it populates with your information to the best of what we have. And then when you go into the actual site itself, the big one that I'm going to focus on today really is online learning platform. This is free to anyone in WASB, and this is the one. So there are some. These are complimentary, effective this year. They did not always have all this free stuff. Usually you pay $70, and sometimes we can reimburse that $70 if it's something of interest. I know last year we had a student hearing we were gonna go through for expulsion, and some board members chose to take the course on expulsion to kind of learn about, you know, how that all works. Because you hear about this stuff and then you forget how it all works because
Right.
it's all momentary in the life of a board member. So I think it's important for you to dive in when you want to. And again, we can go into this on your own. But this is real simple. They've got, you know, introductory modules that are just sort of like, hey, welcome to the board. And then they've got these advanced modules. This is where we're going to focus a little bit here tonight with developing governance and leadership. And then the one we're going to look at, this school finance is really cool. This is one where, it's, again, this is not Raymond specific, but just like, hey, I'm wondering about how finance works. And Jeff Genovese did not even know this existed. I showed him the other day, and there's 9 videos in there you can watch. None of them are super long, but it gives you a really good overview of what financing, you know, school finance is looking like. So again, these are some of the pieces, and then we're going to focus on. What is it now? Let me see. Oh, running effective school board meetings. Thank you. The first one. So we're not going to watch all these. These are PowerPoints that are attached. These are all different live. So if you sign up for a webinar, these are all recorded. You can watch them. They're long. They're 45 minutes if you watch a person talk at regular speed. One little tip, watch it at double speed, and it sounds like Mickey Mouse is presenting you, but it goes faster. It's a little more like I can sit through this and it's better.
Not
Yeah.
that painful.
Time and a half, right. So we're gonna look at, tonight, just the PowerPoint that's really on parliamentary procedures, which is Robert's Rules. And so you click on that, everything I've done is all available to you at your own time. So, basically, there's a quick video I'll show you that kind of gives you an overview of Robert's Rules. And then the video I just found through doing a search on YouTube. It's not actually a WASB resource, it's one that I felt just kind of captured the essence of what Robert's Rules really is shooting for. And so we'll go over that tonight. But you've got your logins, a couple things with WASB. The state convention's coming in January. We have a budgeted amount for the board to develop their skills. It's a couple $100 to attend the conference. Some people choose to go on their own dime. Some will reimburse it. We pay for parking. It's not a huge expense in our budget when it comes to figuring out how to learn well and be effective at your
In
job.
Milwaukee or Madison?
In Milwaukee. The one in January is always in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And that's well liked because we can drive there and drive home. I prefer that one. I'm gonna go next week to the Madison convention, because I didn't go last year. But I'm gonna go and just drive in for the day, because my wife told me I have to. But the reality there is, they're both good. I just prefer driving less than an hour to get there.
Right.
I
But-
didn't know they had a Madison one.
Yeah, in the fall. It's not so much for board members as it is district administrators and leadership. But yes, there's a January coming up for everybody. This is the big one that I think most people benefit from. The online learning platform, which I showed you, and then I think the big key is just focusing on, you know, continually developing and improving your skills, figuring out how you want to, you know, suit it as a board member. So this overview video is actually from an Art Foundation nonprofit, but again, you know, nonprofit is nonprofit is nonprofit. We're a board, and so we'll watch this and.
The Kansas City Artists Coalition has contribute their viewpoints, their expertise, and their experience at the board table. By using an established set of rules and guidelines, members of the group can reach a consensus in a respectful, collegial manner. Robert's Rules of Order is a framework that is comprised of a set of codes and rules of ethics that help groups hold orderly meetings that allow the majority to rule while also offering all voices to be heard. We'll go over the general outline of the essential elements of Robert's Rules. Let's start with motion. A member makes a motion to propose an action or make a decision by saying, I move to whatever the motion is that they'd like to put forth to the board. Another member must then second the motion by saying simply, "I second the motion." Once someone seconds the motion, the group then votes on that motion. It passes by a majority vote or a quorum, depending on the rules in the bylaws. Next, we're going to discuss amending a motion. Members use this process to change a motion and can do so by stating, "I move to amend the motion on the floor." Again, this motion must be seconded and voted upon. Now, a more uncommon element of Robert's rules that you may encounter is the commit. Members use this type of motion to transfer a motion to a committee. As with other types of motions, it must be seconded and voted upon. Once it moves to a committee, the committee presents a report on the committed motion at the next meeting.
So I just want to pause there. This is where, as we're getting into more and more committee work, we may not be able to answer something in the meeting and just say, we got to commit this to a further investigation, bigger discussion at committee, and then committee can come back and report. That's the cycle we're going to get into as we have more steady scheduled meetings.
Common motion is the question. This is when a member may say, "I call the question," to end a debate or discussion. The motion must then be seconded and voted upon without further discussion. A call for the question requires a 2/3 majority vote to pass. At this point, the members must immediately vote on the motion on the floor. And finally, we have adjourn. This refers to moving to end the meeting. A member would
Everyone's
say, "I
favorite part.
move to adjourn," and another member would second the motion. If the majority then votes to adjourn, the meeting is over. And that's it, a basic outline.
So part of the reason why I shared this with you is I would like to share this with whomever ends up, we start to think about next week's the annual meeting. And whomever is a person we're talking about maybe nominating, and it can be on behalf of the community, they have to have it has to be facilitated by a community member. I want to be able to have this available to them to give them a quick, sense of how to run a meeting. Because again, I think it's important that we have a person who understands what they're doing.
Yeah, but this kind of, this is a very short version, but it doesn't say where you have discussion about the motion on the floor. You
Sure.
do that after it's seconded.
Yep.
And then you have discussion on there.
Exactly.
And at any time through there, you can amend that motion.
100%. There's definitely, you're more of a advanced learner for that one.
I was
So-
on the parliamentary procedure team for FFA.
There you go, you can tell. So again, this is just cursory, but when you look at the module we're gonna go into in a second here, this one really dives into the brass tacks of it. So it gets into a lot more of the situational stuff. We're not gonna go item by item through this. Again, you can refer back to this on your own. But I think this goes through, again, how we publicly post meetings, the types of meetings you can have. It covers all sorts of, these are all policies that we currently have because we have Neola policies, so Neola works with WASB very closely. We have all these policies on our books currently. So if you're ever wondering, are we working in policy? Absolutely we are. Obviously the rules of order, this is the simple functions of why we have the order. I think when you look at this, I would like our board to become reflective, even more than we are normally. I go home after a meeting and I think, what went well, what would I do differently? I'm sure we kind of all have that. Sometimes you're riding high, sometimes you're riding low after a meeting. I think, for example, one of the things we should tune ourselves up on is when we have our public comment or discussions, is it public comment, or is it public question, or is it public discussion? We've got to clarify that without making it a controversial thing. So being reflective, I think sometimes we engage, and it's appropriate at times to do that, but I don't want to get into a question and answer session in a public discussion, and rather answer with, hey, let's set up a time to talk. And I've got to get better at that. JG's got to get better at that. As he said, I won't engage, but then we're engaging, So we've just got to, as a board, be reflective on what do we want, and what should that by law really look like. Because there's danger in getting off topic and talking about something that someone randomly brings off the street that isn't on our agenda. Because if it's not on our agenda, then we're in violation of not posting what we're talking about. So there's that fine line. Now, many topics can be, budget is very general, and a lot of our concerns have been brought to us around budget. But then other things will come up, and it just turns into this cycle of, why are we talking about this right now? You know, this isn't done anywhere on our agenda, and that's where we have to be cautious as a board.
Yeah, but I think you keep it, Audrey keeps it pretty well in line.
Yeah,
We follow our agenda
Yes.
very well, I think.
Oh, we follow the agenda we do, yes. I think the management of that public comment piece is a trick in every community. We had a superintendent's workshop on it, and we're all shaking our heads going, it's hard, because then when you have a comment or a discussion that goes, all of a sudden, it turns into something bigger, and you're sitting there talking about something that maybe is teetering on not being on the agenda, or it should be discussed outside of that meeting.
Right.
And some
can always
people
go there.
weren't we allowed here, and others we don't, like, not on purpose, just because it gets off topic, but then they're confused as to why we listen to that person and not that person, and I think it's better just to,
And you do a good job, the gavel helps, you know, but at the same time,
I've never used that.
some
gavel.
people end up just talking
You haven't?
over it though, and that's, the problem isn't, what we talked about at the superintendent's
So many
level,
ones.
is what do you do when someone just talks over you saying, please stop talking about this, and they just keep going? Keith, I'm sure this has never happened at the village board level. I mean,
It happened here a lot.
yeah, it happened here a lot, absolutely, and I think we just have to, as we're heading into this annual meeting season, which is a month out for us, just things to be reflective on, to make sure we're understanding our role as board members and engaging appropriately.
So what do you do at that point when they just keep talking?
You can, stop that portion of the meeting, you can, you know, just say we're done with public comment, and we're gonna move on to something else, you just end it, I mean, you can do that.
what if they keep talking?
You can ask them to leave, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the meeting, and if they won't leave, then you can say, well, we may have to contact local authorities. And we have had to have local authorities at our meetings within the recent past. We don't wanna go back to that, that's for sure what we're not looking for. I definitely will, because of the recent history here, have a Racine County Sheriff on the premises for our annual meeting. Why? Because I can't be naive enough to think that it won't be a beautiful meeting. You know, I think it'll be great, but I think we've gotta be cautious just to make sure we are prepared. Every annual meeting I've ever been to in any school usually has someone from law enforcement there.
Yeah.
Because you want it to go well, and you want it to be ruly, you know? It's not meant as a threat or anything else, it's meant as just, hey, we're keeping this thing rolling. So again, those are all pieces, but you're right, it is challenging, because it doesn't go off, I mean, as smoothly as us just saying, stop talking.
And one of
Because
the
guess
big-
what, it doesn't happen that way in a classroom with your kids, either.
And one
Stop talking.
One of my favorite things of Robert's rules was the call to question, because like last year at the
Yeah.
delegates meeting, we used that a lot, because they drag it out,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that would be really good for whoever's running our annual meeting to know about, so that, you know, we're not dragging things out like it has in the past a couple times already, you know. this way
Anyone
we
can call the question, they just
Right.
have to get, and they have to get
But I-
2/3 of that room to agree, it's
Right.
time to vote on something.
I
know.
just used that at our church meeting, our annual meeting.
You have to.
Because it's
And
just,
some people
otherwise,
will-
it'll drag out.
And
they let
you're not
people know
supposed
about
to,
that.
and it goes into this, more detail on this, Mr. Parliamentary Procedure Robinson. It goes into more discussion about, the person can only speak once on behalf of their item. So if you're talking about something, you know, you're passionate about, you're not gonna come back around, and it's not gonna be a continued
Like another 2 minutes.
argument,
3 minutes or
additional
whatever,
time.
yeah.
So, again, just some things that I'm putting out there in front of you now intentionally, so that we can be aware. We're not gonna have a parliamentarian, you know, we need to have a person who understands it. I think I can handle that, along with our current existing, you know, structure we have. But we've gotta figure out how that person who's facilitating the annual meeting can successfully navigate all this stuff.
Remind me, when we do the annual meeting and then you appoint the person to run the meeting and so on and so forth, we then, as a board, we become the
Community
general
members.
public, right?
Yep.
So we can
Yep.
call the question
Yep.
or what have you to,
You are then Ed Robinson taxpayer.
all right, all right.
Yep. And so really, and I
So
almost
we
feel
can
like,
control it too.
you know, I almost feel like we could even, some boards even physically get up from their seats and join the audience so that everyone's kind of facing the same direction, so it doesn't seem like it's directed by anything. I've had that in some places I've been. I've also had a community that doesn't have to do an annual meeting, which is lovely. They're not a common district, because some of the districts are not common districts, and so they don't have to have the public run anything, they just facilitate their annual meeting. We do have the ace in the hole, though. We have Jeff Genovese this year, who facilitated Yorkville's beautifully. It was about 15 minutes long. He got through everything. Because the numbers are what they are. We know how to process things. He gives all the language to the people, and it's really clear.
So that's the budget meeting.
It's a budget hearing and annual meeting. He was a present for both, and he was able to provide all the information for the facilitator, just like we did last year, the motions and the statements. And there's really, remember, we're really just talking about 5 things: food service, transportation, budget levy, or tax levy, and salary of the board, and I think there's one more. So that's it. Anything out of that purview is not appropriate for the annual.
So there'll be a public agenda
Yep.
written up for that meeting that
Yes.
whoever presides over that is gonna follow.
Yep, and I would like to have those resources available so that we know, we have a sense of, you know, who, it's a hard job to do in any public setting, to do it well. So, again,
What are the 5 things?
it's transportation, food service, salary of board, tax levy,
Budget.
and there's one more that's slipping me. I'll look it up before we go. There's one more that we have. So again, what we'll do is create a template that has the language of the amounts for tax levy and all
Okay.
those things, so that the
Okay.
person just has to kind of say, this is what we're looking at. It would be, there have been some communities who have not passed the tax levy the way it was recommended, and it just gets really, really messy, because then you're gonna have to pass it anyway. You can't, it's sort of a motion that is going through the motion, if you will. If you were to pass a tax levy that's more, I don't think that can even be done. So there's some things that you just have to really follow the guidelines.
I mean, that's rather fixed, right? The tax
It is
levy
rather
part of it
fixed.
is
Oh, for
fixed.
sure, but people try to get cute with, you know, trying to one-up the system here and fix something, and I feel like it's just, we're not looking for that for ours, for sure.
Right,
It's hard enough to deal with other people's tax dollars, so.
it's understandable.
Again, in the end, the most important things are the wording of each motion and the votes that are taken for those motions. Again, open meetings law just talks about some various things with statute here in regards to, you know, you can require votes are taken in a certain member, we can do roll call votes. I mean, we have lots of ways to record your opinions. There's,
Capital expenditures is the other one.
thank you, capital expenditures. There you go.
Good job, Audrey.
I knew that's what she was doing.
So again, we can set in our rules, general rules, we will have rules. Last year, we instituted rules for the annual meeting that would basically say, this is the way we're gonna function. And one of those rules is, you do have a set number of times you can speak about an issue, for example. So we would set those ground rules before the meeting even starts. The person who presides over the meeting would set those ground rules. And the goal would be to kind of keep it orderly, because they've talked about those 5 or 10
Are you gonna
simple.
create a cheat sheet for that person who's ever
Yes.
presiding?
Yep.
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 Good.
So
When's
again,
that meeting again? I'm sorry.
Tuesday, October 14th. And at that meeting, we are hopeful that our public will set the meeting for August next year instead of October. And the reason for that, again, is because of our borrowing situation. We could borrow 1 time versus 2 times because of state statute. Last year, we erred on the side of knowing our numbers better, and that's why we chose October. But now that we know our numbers better, we don't need to have it in October. So again, that's where that sits. Again, just these are some different tips and tricks for presiding officer, you know, making motion, calling for affirmative, opposing, which I think good news is we do all these things. So amendments can get a little tricky. There's a whole thing here about, you know, when you make an amendment, there's a certain way to do it. They talk about the amendment tree. So you got your main motion, you got your primary amendment, and your secondary, so they kind of have a process to, if you want to change something and change something again, there's a way to do it. we don't tend to get into much of that because we try to provide clear motions that have all that we need. I know, some of you that are new to our board have commented on the length of our motions. It's because I feel like the more wordy sometimes, the more you capture all the stuff versus a general motion, so we go more specific sometimes. And again, there's just some do's and don'ts there. So again, I would encourage you to check out this slide deck. And it's, I think, really important as we prepare for, and there's a lot here.
I also think that WASB sends out an annual meeting booklet to board members. Have we received those this
I
year?
have received ours from school, the school copy, and I can certainly get you a copy of it, even if it's photocopied. We got ours back in,
Received them at home,
we
though.
got ours back in August, I think.
Is it electronic?
No, it's a
just
paper book.
small little book. It's big.
Yeah. This is just virtual, if you have to ever virtually participate, which we've tried a few times over. We tried, didn't quite work because of connectivity, but we do allow, our policies do allow for virtual meeting if any of you ever have to miss and want to wire in or call in. I know you called into one of our meetings, so it is possible. And then, of course, after the meeting, these are all the things that they want us to do, which is, again, reviewing minutes for accuracy, any next steps, any further work that has to come out. We've got to publish those required by law, which we do. And then there's an evaluation tool that I'd like the board to consider using this year that would, at the end of the year, let's look back and say, how'd we do? How are our meetings running? It's not a real long process, but I feel like, board president kind of drives that discussion, and we have some tools we can use now at our disposal. So this is just, again, the resource at a glance. It's one of many. As I pointed out, there's a ton here. There's a section on closed sessions if you ever want to know, right? Minutes. I sent this over to our new secretary, to Natalie, and said, hey, this is really something you should look at for how to prepare minutes. Because there's no real guidance. Some people are extremely thorough, some people are extremely vague. We want to land somewhere in the middle on our minutes. So lots of good stuff out there. I'd encourage you to please take a look.
Mike, when we have the annual meeting, are you planning on introducing the admin staff and giving a little history about each person so that the general public knows where we're at, why we are where we're at? Hey, we don't have a principal, but you're taking two places. And
Sure. I certainly can. I think that would be worthy.
and
That would probably be
introducing Jeff and.
that would be in the budget hearing more than likely.
Okay.
So I'm used to doing, and I didn't do last year because it was my first dance, is sort of a state of the district. So just a couple slides on, here's where enrollment is, here's where we think this is, here's the leadership team, here's some positives that are going on, here's some challenges we're facing, here's the budget. And Jeff ends with that, and he does that, as you can tell, very cleanly.
Yep.
And then that's done, and that meeting adjourns. So our first meeting, budget hearing, is at 6:30, and then 7 o'clock is the scheduled annual meeting.
Okay.
And that's the publicly set time that they agreed upon, 7 o'clock last year. So then 7 p.m., so if, let's say we get done in 10 minutes from the budget hearing, which I doubt we will, but we'll just have to adjourn and re-adjourn at 7 o'clock, or re-engage at 7 o'clock. And then we run the meeting, and I think the meeting, if run well, could be done pretty quickly this year. There's just pretty standard operating annual meeting stuff.
Yep.
Which is exciting to be in that place.
What was last year?
Is there a public comment section with the annual meeting, or do we just run through the
No, you
business?
just run through
The
business.
agenda?
Now, people can create discussions around topics that they want the people, the voters to consider. But again, they can take advisory action on those things. The board has no responsibility to listen to any of those things. A couple of years ago, there were some motions that were made that were pretty demonstrative toward the board and other people,
Yep.
superintendent, and those, while made and voted on, they didn't have any legal clout. So they just pretty much died that night. It was never something the board was gonna act on. So again, it's discussion that people felt apparent, but at the same time, really the reason why you're there is those big five,
Okay.
which is the only 5 things that the community can actually do. So there we are with that. So I just wanted to, again, point you in the direction of a couple of important resources. Going back to our agenda here, strategic plan update. So, we ended up issuing a community survey, family survey, held 4 sessions, created mission, vision, re-articulated vision and goals. We are all staff are involved in the work of our strategic plan right now. We all saw it, and every teacher, every staff member has an understanding that we have a document that's guiding us, and I'll share that with you. We're gonna share that at the next week, Monday's board meeting. We're gonna have the official cover sheet available for people. And then really this represents 3 to 5 years of big topics we're looking at for us to keep moving forward with things. And then again, we're gonna publish that cover page in October at the budget hearing. It'll be part of my state of the district. And then, we'll have the annual meeting to follow. So, and then we'll have a board meeting on October 20th, our regularly scheduled board meeting. And that's an important one because we have to set the tax levy at that meeting, because it's after October 15th. So our board meeting falls the day before the tax levy actually comes, the official numbers come out from the state. They'll tell us, and then we can set the levy officially on October 20th. So,
6:30, right? Regular board meeting.
on the 20th.
Yeah.
Yes.
With all these meetings, are we doing a meeting on the first Monday of next month too? Workshop?
The board
That
could
would be
decide to
3
or not.
weeks in a row.
You know, it'd be up to you if you want, because it would be, the way it falls, right now on our agenda, we've got a meeting, that's 9:50, was that 9:50?
Right at the bottom, yep, right there.
No, but that's an old,
This last month.
No, we're in September. That's September.
this is September's, but it
you
should
have the
show,
wrong
it should
date.
show
You have the wrong
October's.
dates on the bottom.
Yeah, this is not the right one. I have an agenda that's, it's the October, here we go. October 6th is our scheduled board workshop, if you wanted to have one. If not, you could also, just have your, on the 13th. What is this? Monthly workshop on the 13th.
We
That
have
changed.
2 weeks in a row.
Let's change that one. Anyway, so the annual meeting's here, and then obviously the following Monday is our regular scheduled board meeting, so. All right. So again, the strategic plan, has had some steps to it. So when people ask you about it, I just wanted you to get the ability to say, yep, there's a whole process we went through, and you could have engaged anytime along the way, and you still can engage, even if you haven't been a part of the conversation. This is the document that you'll all be shared. Sorry for the small font, but this is really the big 4 buckets that came out of our work. The 4 buckets are educational experience, community and culture, financial management, and safety and infrastructure. Those are the 4 things we're gonna be talking about, and each of those have, as you can see under, some goals that are articulated, and they kind of align with, you know, the brief definition of what each bucket is. So, after each topic is the definition of what that section means, okay? This is what our staff looked at. They felt like they understood. Many of our teachers won't live in this space of managing these things. They're just, I want them to be aware. I want them to know we're moving forward, and these are the things that if they want to get engaged on, we're doing the work, and they're welcome to it. I don't expect them to dive in at, you know, elbow deep level, roll up their sleeves and really get into this stuff. I feel like it's up to them to decide what they want to dive in on.
But this is kind of a framework for what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And if you look at, for example, instructional educational practices in literacy and math, every single staff goal will be written in literacy and math. So this is really a school improvement plan as well. So it's all tied together. It's an alignment. And then you'll look at this tying into this particular document we started with last year, which was, okay, as a board, we have a mission, vision, values, goals, norms. And so how do these things all fit? Well, we have our mission, which is our new mission statement. And I want to, at the next board meeting, just go through the motion of saying we accept this document with the new mission, because I feel like that's an important point, and then this becomes the new mission. We've had this out there for a couple of months. It's probably the best, you know, unkept secret. It's not really one. People have seen it. This is really where we landed with it. So empowering all students by nurturing a culture of academic excellence, igniting curiosity, and cultivating perseverance within a supportive community. So that's what we're striving to do. And then we always had this out in front of us, ambition, belief, character, ABC of Raymond, which is cool. Our core values, these are the 5 core values that the board had talked about, hey, when we do our work, this is what we believe. And I don't know if anybody has any objections to those or wants to change those at all, but it's respect, responsibility, integrity, citizenship, and honesty. These are values that we want to carry through with our kids too. And then our school board strategic buckets, this is where the board work ties directly into our strategic plan. These are the 4 things that the board is going to be strategically thinking about, and you can ask the question, how does this fit within our work? And if it doesn't fit in that work, probably shouldn't be doing it, because there's only so many hours in the day. So, and then leadership goals, these are the things that as you evaluate me, and remember in mine, I really get 2 points of feedback. We should talk soon about the first point, which would be in probably November, when the board gets a chance to kind of tune in on me. And I would also tune into our administration, the administrative team, Dana, Donna, Jeff. We'll talk about, how are we focusing on systems? How are we creating a long-term plan? And then how are we continuing to establish and develop trust? Which I think is really the 3 main goals. If the board wants to add to that, they certainly can. This is kind of an extension of what we did last year, but I reformulated them a little bit to add more relevant insight to them. For example, facilities and financial planning, that's really something I think we're gonna have to look at, and we'll start talking about in a little bit here. And then the norms for the board, this is just, you guys are a great board. You get along well, you're working hard to try and move things forward. I don't get a sense that we have to review these at the start of every meeting, but there are boards I've been on that read these every single time they meet. It's a matter of just, living them and operating within them. I don't know if that's overkill or not, but this is a document then that the board would officially adopt for this year. And that's part of our agenda for Monday, the 15th. You'll notice it, mission, vision, values, goals, norms, right here. Strategic planning update right here. And then there's a library plan that we'll look at a draft of. And that's the agenda for next week, Monday. This is what we're looking at. Then we've got a couple updates.
What is the seclusion and restraint report?
That's an annual report where we have to report to the DPI how many students we may have had to seclude or restrain. So seclusion means you put a student in a room away from their peers.
Okay, all right.
And then restraint is you actually physically restrain. And the good news is these are absolutely single digit, if not zeros, for us, which is great. I have been a part of other schools and neighboring communities to ours that you're having double digit.
Yep. Yeah.
Tough,
totally.
tough, so we're in a really good spot.
Good to have your blue card.
Yeah, exactly. And all of our staff, by the way, are nonviolent crisis intervention trained. So NVCI it's called, or CPI training, not CPR, crisis prevention training. So they de-escalate kids and before we ever put our hands on kids. And if you do put your hands on kids, there's a way to do it that is
Not like the old days, huh?
appropriate. Yeah. No, there's not. I've had many parents tell me that feel free to paddle my kid, and I'm like, no.
Right by my ear.
I will not. I had one person say, that's where the paddle used to be, up in the office here. That's it. That's it.
My mother used to say, if you get hit by a teacher, you probably deserved it.
And you're gonna get hit at home
A
too,
little-
that's
a
what my
little-
dad.
a little old school.
I was in 2nd grade when I got hit by my first teacher here.
All right. So, we're gonna keep moving on here. Keith's very quiet.
He was a good boy.
He was, very good.
Not me.
So again, we'll just talk through some of these pieces, as we work through the agenda for next week. So this is really, we're gonna revisit those things. Lastly, pass referendum. So in reflectively thinking about where we sit right now, we didn't pass the operational referendum last year twice. Facilities are facing some challenges. The big question I get from families, first of all, they're extremely happy we're open. It's been a great year so far. They're very pleased with the way things are going. But they're all saying, what's going on? Like, where are we going? Are we okay? And my first answer is always, yes, we're okay, we're here. We're here and we're continuing to be a good school district. But they worry about, what's the future? Are we gonna go to referendum again? And they wanna support, and these are people in the doors, in the walls. I've gotten a real sense from our families that they love Raymond. I think where we've gotta do a better job is, again, trying to get the messaging out of what we're doing and what we're about to everybody who doesn't have a school-age kid. Why are we doing this work and how are we doing this work? And that's the
I think
challenge.
they need to understand the struggles too that some of these teachers are going through. I know like the K-4 teacher, she got 12 kids all by herself.
Yeah,
And I know last year there was someone in there
we
with
had
her.
an aide helping
An aide.
4-year-olds,
And
yeah. So, it's hard.
12 little
and-
4-year-olds, man, you can't, how do you keep
It's a lot,
straight?
it's a lot. I don't have 12 kids at my house, thank goodness, so I don't know how it
Actually,
is.
those are small.
Those are small numbers, yes, but he's saying it for not having a
Right,
paraprofessional.
but
Yeah.
without an aide, I mean.
So last year we had
Keep 'em all going.
18 and 19, but we had a paraprofessional in there. There is some help we can float in a little bit, but, we're trying to find ways to support her, but it is challenging. So again,
Community help, is that acceptable?
what's that?
Community help?
Sure, people can always volunteer and come in and, help kids put their boots on.
I just wondered if that wouldn't be something.
Just wait till
How do
winter
you bring
gear
something
season.
like that up? How do you bring that out to the community that, hey,
And not, yeah.
I think we can ask, we can put it out. So we do still have our community thread that is an email of interested people who want to get newsletters that don't have kids here. And we push out to them whenever we push our newsletter out. They get, every couple of weeks, they get an email with all of our newsletters and board updates and things like that. And these are people that just are, hey, give me some info. And if they want to read the email or not, that still exists. But in looking at the past referendum, we also had these facilities referendum that are in our past. We had the 2010 successful gym addition, which converted this space into what it is now, put the gym on, and that's the first set of pages in your packet that I just ran off color prints for you. And the second pages to that are the 2022 failed referendum. And I want the board to just have this information so that you can start to think about, okay, what went into the successful 2010 compared to the unsuccessful 2022, and then also thinking about what we need to do to learn about how to move forward. Because this isn't a slam dunk. I mean, we've got to figure out, and this is why I have in the slide deck here, the past referendum refresher. We identified facilities work, and these were not operational, these were a bond issuance. So one in 2014 got us all that, and then 2022 was 14.8, I think it was. And we've got to conduct a needs assessment and facility study to freshen up, okay, we know the cost of things, building and replacement of things is up compared to 2022 even.
right,
So if we're looking at certain things, and the facilities team is looking at this as well as, safety and everything else, what are some of those things on our list? And what are some things we can bake in versus things that we can't bake in? If we gotta replace a roof on this puppy, it's not gonna be a cheap, not gonna be a cheap endeavor, and so that can't be something I just budget for. And you, maybe you save for a rainy day. Our fund balance did grow this year back to 12%. So we're talking about it going up to, just shy over 700,000, which is decent, but we need to have it at 25% is our hope. So Jeff would like to see it at 2 million, so we don't even have to borrow short-term.
Because that would save us a lot of money, right?
That would save us money.
well, not only that, but now we're still short on personnel.
And this is the key
We don't have a
is,
principal, we don't have the aides, we don't have,
and
and that would eat up your fund balance real quick.
we have to look at the vision of, do we want world language? That was something that was given in our survey. People want world language back. We are giving world language right now through Rosetta Stone and through Focus Study Hall. So we have one kid learning Polish, a couple kids learning Mandarin. It's hilarious. This little kid, I want to take Polish. Okay. You can do 100 different languages in Rosetta Stone, which is really cool. but is that the best way for that kid to learn a foreign language? I don't know.
Well,
So-
who then at that point monitors his success?
Dana Marty,
Okay.
our curriculum person, through the program. So the point is that the best we can do for a world language? We could probably do better, but it's gonna take a person with a world language certification, and we don't have that person here.
Right.
We don't currently have an EL certified teacher. You know, we have a person we consult with, but we don't have, EL means English language learners, so like second language families. And we have some percentage of our population that doesn't speak fluent, you know, English. So, again, those are challenges we face. Do we want to continue to only have certain electives, or do we want to maybe enhance and have some rec department? We talked about rec department classes, talked about maybe some robotics, or engineering, or shop, or auto, or, I mean, what's the vision that the community wants? I think if you want to expand those things, those are all going to have a price tag. So as we move forward and start to plan, and you look at these plans as just a springboard, you know, what does it look like realistically for Raymond? And those are questions to have. Like you said, Ed, it's, you know, yes, our budget is balanced. You will be approving a balanced budget, but it was at a cost. I mean, we cut back on things that were important to us because we had to. You know, we had to live within our means, and we are. But is this version the version? Or is there a way that we can try to advance this
It's gonna
thing
be a struggle.
to the future, you know? and-
It's always gonna be a struggle at the level of staff that you have.
Yes. And where it comes into play, and we feel it the most, to be totally honest, is we feel it a lot at the middle school level this year. We cut a social studies teacher, so now we got teachers teaching 2 subjects, which is fine, it's not against the law or anything, they're all certified teachers. But again, is that the best position for those teachers? Or are we just making sure that they're doing a little more with less? And they're all doing it really willingly. People chose to stay here. Jake Cole stayed here reduced. Allie, who's still here right now working on the musical, is 75% music, 25% English. Brooke wasn't here today, because Brooke Adamchek is a 1-day-a-week art teacher at Kansasville now, and she came back because she loves Raymond. So is that the best model? I don't know. Or is there a way for us to staff them into things and produce more opportunities for our kids when we have them in our walls? These are all pieces that we're gonna work on through the strategic plan and make some recommendations. I don't think we need to have the Cadillac of things, but I think we gotta examine, okay, what does Yorkville offer? And what works for them? What does Union Grove offer? What do some other districts around us offer that we wanna, you know, kick the tires on? And I think we've got some the great part is people who come to Raymond and work here like to work here. That's the good news. So then, we're gonna work hard this year to budget forecast and create funding scenarios. So what do we know about funding? Well, for certain, we know that the government has said the state will pay up to 42%, might not be 42%. The last couple of years, it was not the actual number they gave you. Last year, I think, was 33%, we got 31%. So we know they'll pay 42% of special ed costs. That's it. Did not get any additional increase. So with that reality, if it's 325, as Governor Evers put out there for 400 years, which is an interesting piece, but that's where we sit. We know the formula, we know the forecast only pushes us, you know, so far in our efforts. So Jeff will work hard this year with Baird to budget forecast, to get you numbers, to say, okay, is this a facilities only? Or are we gonna do what Yorkville did, where they have facilities only, or a facilities and operational? And if I'm not mistaken, they passed an operational that's recurring. So that means that it's just done. So they did it once, and they're done. They're not,
Oh, is it
it's not lapsing,
reoccurring
it's not,
for
it's
year over year?
not
over year?
non-recurring. Non-recurring means it's over after it
A
sunsets.
period of time.
You know, so that's something the board would have to decide as well.
I think this was the second time they did operational. The first time it was a
Non-recurring.
non-recurring, and then the second time it's,
So what some communities do, and I think you were mentioning up north, maybe with a connection you had up north to a community that does a lot of referendum. Sometimes the first one they pass is is this enough and long enough, and they try it on for 3 years or 4 years, and they make sure it gets the district what they need. And then the next time they vote for it, they say, okay, let's make this more of a permanent thing.
Right.
Because you're gonna, otherwise, some communities also just have you ask every 3 years. Every 3 years, you gotta come back, and there's nothing wrong with that either, because there's some accountability to that, to say, do you need all that money? Because if you don't need all that money, then maybe you don't take it the next time. So, there's also a chance, though, that if they don't pass it, you're gonna have to make some significant alterations after that 3 years. So there's a number of ways you can look at operational. Maybe we look at both, like Yorkville did. Because that, Yorkville is doing a lot of great things, but at the same time, they also have that extra funding through the operational, and the facilities came along with it.
The first time the operational was to bring the teachers' salaries up to the rest of the-
Competitive, yep.
Yeah, to be competitive with the rest of the schools around.
West Dallas, West Milwaukee just passed a referendum specific to teacher compensation. And there are much bigger districts, so they passed it and it was huge, millions. And they gave, 7, 8, 9% increases to staff because they were at that level of compensation compared to the area. So the board has some big decisions to make and discussions to have this year. We could end up with option A, right? Do nothing. Just keep kind of rolling it forward and seeing if it works, and maybe that's the case. Or option 2 would be, maybe it's a facilities only, and it's a certain amount of money. Option 3 would be both. Or option 4 could be just operational again. I just don't know how operational performs in, not just here, but anywhere. It's not a very attractive, you don't notice it a whole lot. Oh, we got to keep our lights on, and, it's just not quite the same feel. The facilities is a pride thing. I think when people see it and they see what the beautiful stuff can come out of this.
The
And
gym.
right, and we have a very nice gym as a result of that, so.
Well, and I see Yorkville's, you can see it happening, and that makes a big difference with, even their playground.
I think
Well,
Yorkville's more of a growing community than we are, right?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too. I think is just seeing, where the board feels, we want this to go, and talking about things like, every time I mention the concept, or people bring up the concept of the rec department or a community center, people light up. They love it. So there's something there that we gotta look at. Where do we do this? I don't know. Talk to some crazy people in the community about barn dominiums, and Ed brought that up, that's why I said crazy people. But there's a lot of ideas. I don't know what it could look like.
Taj Mahal.
Not a
Here.
Taj Mahal, but something
You
nice,
want the
so. We've got some work to do this year. So I gave you the packet because I want you to look through. I know what I've heard is that the 2022 referendum didn't quite communicate like it should have. And that whether or not that's true, I could never say. I wasn't here, but it didn't pass. So clearly something was missing in that process.
So from what I've heard, and I may be wrong, you guys can, in the community, we were all blinded by what was happening on the board and in the school and the conflicts that were happening. Nobody, I don't think, paid attention to this because there was such turmoil in other areas of the school.
Well, there's
No,
nothing
you're talking
sexy about an operational referendum.
No.
The 2022 was the
The
14
2022, this is the.
was the
Oh, it was
14
pretty much-
million
Yeah.
for,
People pretty much thought it was,
improving the facilities.
and people
and
pretty
that-
much thought it was a
and that
$14
was-
million open check, and
Yeah,
there was no info to go with it, there was
Right,
not enough.
we
Well,
never had.
I'm giving you the
we
info
didn't
I
have
have.
Oh, that was
architects-
before
we
the
didn't have an
tornado.
architect's drawing, and people didn't know what they were gonna pony up for. So, that was why that failed.
Sure.
that was
It was
before
like
that.
Well,
$80,000
this-
to do a drawing.
So in
and-
your packet, this yellow flyer is the one that was just, we cut it apart and just scanned it in. And it kind of tells you what it was going towards. Outdated classrooms and labs, aging building and access, traffic circulation, insufficient parking, and support areas. You could argue, those are kind of the areas we've talked about as we look at our facility and say, what do we need? I don't think they missed the mark on this. I think they missed the mark on communicating about this and developing people's understanding. When I look at what they've got written into this, I don't know how much would change from that. I don't know. We'll have to dive into it a little more deeply at the facilities level.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bray and Associates, was the architect that did, I attached their bid, the budget analysis.
Right.
And it's interesting to see, because some of this is, you know, prices have gone up on some of the costs of these things. And we would probably talk to Bray, in my opinion, again, because they've already got our file, and say, can you update it? I don't know that we need to do a full anything, because they've got all the work pretty much done.
Did the school board ever talk to the village about that driveway and stuff that they thought they were gonna put in?
Never, because they'd have to get the land from there.
That's another,
Because there was a 5 mile, not an easement, but a driveway, right? Because that was
And
gonna
then
be the
taking
new
the ball
entrance.
Owns that
out.
land?
The village owns that land.
yeah.
Okay. I remember, Harder went to and proposed that, and the impression that I got, he was very arrogant in,
Well, yeah, he just thought that they're just automatically giving it to
Yeah.
him.
yeah, and so that
But
fell
that, I
flat.
mean, the reason why, if the village ever wants to expand, putting a driveway through the middle of their property is not gonna allow that. So, I don't think it's gonna work real well.
So those are the pieces we'll have to talk about.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got to look at the vision of the future for the village
Right,
too.
'cause that's the only land that they have.
Which is what, right over here?
It's straight west of, well, it's like where the Fourth of July pavilion.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Well, this
Pretty much
plan
half a
put that
diamond.
driveway right through that, where everyone parks, or like where everyone parks for baseball.
Well,
Right,
they were putting it
right.
right through according to this diagram, they're putting it right through the baseball field.
Right.
Well, and then there's a
And the parking
diagram in
lot.
there that Bob drafted, because it's just funny how people have their ideas. There's a sort of a faded hand color drawn, which moves the baseball diamonds,
Oh, yeah.
because you'd have to do that, right? So I mean, we're talking, this is a big endeavor, if you're gonna
Well,
make this
the
thing
reason,
right.
I'm just
Well-
telling you what I've heard, but a lot of the reason I think this isn't gonna ever pass is because you're accommodating for traffic to come off 5 Mile, and that's a big expense for the whole 14 million. Cause you're moving the baseball fields because of coming off of 5 Mile Road.
Sure.
There's really not, I mean, yeah, they're gonna
I
build-
think we could still keep it off 76 with the right inflow and process to picking up.
And you may have to change
Experiencing
the
that
inlet
every day.
or the outlet and move it over
Correct.
to the, tree line. Because you need a longer length to accommodate more vehicles,
Right.
because it's such a short little distance. The
Right.
vehicles are just,
So those are all pieces when we do a facility study, I agree, and if something's gonna die on the table because of a big thing like a flaw in 5 Mile design, right? Then let's not put that forward. To me, that, you know, come up with an
take it
option
off the
that will
table.
work.
If it's something that,
Right, if
Not
the
even-
village is never gonna really do that, then we know a guy who happens to be on the village board.
Well, I'm just saying what
you know.
people are saying, that's what
Correct,
people are saying.
correct.
Cause baseball fields are not cheap.
No,
No.
they're not. They're
No.
not.
but, and I don't know this, but if you
Union
run
Road is
along
finding out right now.
the tree line and hug that tree line around without affecting any of that, I don't know if there's enough property there to do that. Go behind the concession stand, go west of the concession stand, there's no property there, is there? Okay, all right, I didn't know.
So I might be interested in just knowing, from a survey perspective, like, if you took our land and you took the village's land together, like, what's the footprint of that, and is there any sort of sharing or melding that can occur
That
with a
would work for
baseball
both.
complex that would work for both, and give you what you need from
Yeah,
the
cause it
village?
showed, I think it shows on this one, Diamond One is on,
The
the
village.
outfield is on school
School property, yep.
Yeah, it's right here, this shows it.
Oh, and by the way, you asked
The
about
front
this.
page.
You asked about this. All the diamonds are mowed by the school district,
Oh,
period.
Except for half of,
So, no, they're all mowed by the school district, so therefore, and that's fine, Raymond Baseball deserves it, it's awesome. Talk about community account, that Fund 80,
yeah,
that lawn service can actually be, a percentage of it can be paid by Fund 80 off of our Fund 10 books. So that definitely is something that we can look at with a Fund 80.
I've been approached about, is there more monies available in Fund 80 to do some other things with the baseball diamond?
Correct. But before we start putting that money at it, I think we've gotta look at, you know, is there something bigger that's gotta come in the future? I don't wanna spend a lot of money on diamonds and make them beautiful, and then we're gonna tear them up in 2 years.
Well, hell
You
no,
know,
no,
that's-
that
right?
makes no sense
Just
at
like
all.
if we're gonna move the playground, you don't wanna move the playground, or dig up, we gotta dig up all those our tanks and everything are over under the playground.
Nope, that's not good.
So, we can't just,
So we got so much property going back that way, that I think that we can accommodate what our needs are within our boundaries.
Footprint.
I really do. And it's nice of us to take care of them ball diamonds, and they're over there, but we got a lot of land behind us.
Sure.
And over to the
So I think
southeast.
as part of our study, we gotta look at, I also believe we don't need a jut in off of 5 Mile, we could come in off 76, but make it a long enough journey
Yeah.
to get from A to B, that you're not gonna have congestion, because, you know, we've only got so many cars that are coming through for pickup, and then
Right.
buses are a certain area, so I think we could accommodate, you know, with our current footprint, just more
Yes,
and
yes,
resurfaced.
yes.
So, again, those are all pieces that I think we
All right.
gotta look at, so.
Okay.
Please start to think about this though, again, and as you hear from people, you know, you represent the public. So
Right.
what are their interests? And maybe they're listening to this. I got 2 people viewing, there you go. So maybe they're hearing, you know, we're talking about ideas. We're not, nothing is firm, but I feel like we have a year now to figure this out. I say that because obviously we would need a timeline to forecast out. If you're gonna go to referendum in November, which would be the earliest we would go,
A year from now.
it would be a year from now, 2026.
That'd be the earliest.
That's the earliest. 1
It's
year.
a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I know. And a lot of background and history and research we wanna dive into. So we gotta talk to the village, and we gotta talk to, not just Keith, just the actual village. And we gotta figure out what, you know, what's the conversation gonna look like for a facilities piece. And then as it relates to facilities, I happen to know a few districts around us that did a great job with facilities. They have these great, amazing Taj Mahal, but now they're short on their budget for staffing because they didn't put an operational budget in place, and they can't staff the building that they just built. And it's happened in 2 districts that are neighboring to ours, that look amazing, but they're short-staffed. So that's not, I don't think we wanna build a house and not fill it with furniture, you know, be house poor. I think we wanna find a way to have both. So that's my opinion, but the board, as we go through this next year, it's the board's, you know, work we're gonna have to dive into. So, any questions at all about the stuff we shared tonight?
No.
We will probably put up these as exhibits for our public on our website. I mean, this is all history, it's all what we know. But I wanna start to get people thinking about this, because as we have those information meetings, I don't wanna have people I wanna have people show up. I want them to share their ideas and their vision for what they want here, in the future.
Yeah, I think that was the most disappointing part, is the lack of participation from the community.
In the strategic planning
With
process?
regards to what?
Strategic planning,
It was
and
just
even,
very-
even a referendum,
And even the referendum efforts, I mean,
yeah.
we've got a
It's just very
great
few
community, I
people.
just wanna know how to talk to them. And when we got people in, I believe we had good conversations, but it just was not a lot of people.
You're not gonna strike any interest in anybody unless you're talking about like a community center. There's nothing sexy about anything else, operational or updating the sewer system or any of that. There's nothing sexy about that. It drives no interest whatsoever. So if we can,
So we need
if
sexy,
we can
is what
roll,
you're saying.
yeah. A sexy
There's your headline.
condominium.
Raymond, we need sexy, that's good, that's,
Oh, totally, absolutely.
that's the headline.
Yeah.
Ed Robinson says, we need sexy.
Oh, that was real fun.
It draws interest.
It does.
You're right, no, but
And what we could do with the like, it
Oh,
just,
yeah.
Raymond is a pretty special place, and I feel like people come here and they enjoy coming here, but we gotta have a reason to come here. They come here for baseball. This place is
I know.
alive in the spring, in the summer, and it's great, and I think we can do it,
that's
you
why I
know,
wasn't here for
more.
strategic planning, is
It's baseball.
baseball 4
There you
nights
go.
a week.
All right, so, we do have to, I think, adjourn if the board
Okay.
doesn't have any other,
I just have a question, how's our enrollment?
enrollment right now is, 391, 392. Last year we were 396. So we're within the same striking distance of last year's enrollment. We did not lose families to external. I sent you an email message in our last Friday update that there were 0 K-4 enrollments out for open enrollment
Nice.
kids. So that's good. It starts with keeping the kids we have in our community. We absolutely have to get those relationships out there, so people who live here and pay taxes here send their kids here.
And we have some new residents,
We
right?
do,
Yep.
we do, and the resident feedback has been very positive.
I see the.
They love Raymond.
3 or
I
4
see the
across the street from me.
kindergarten bus go through, our subdivision, so
Yeah.
there must be
Yeah.
a new one back there.
Our kindergartens are pretty well, 23 apiece. 23 apiece. No aid.
Yeah.
So again,
Oh,
that's a lot of kids. So K4, 12 is lovely, but 23 apiece. Now, we do notice the phenomenon,
Those are
because
special
K4 is
teachers.
not retired,
And look at,
retired. K4 is not required, that's a long day.
right,
So with K4 not being required, oftentimes we add a handful of kindergartners after K4. So that's why we have the bigger numbers, because last year we ended the year with 18 and 18.
yep.
This year, I think we
A lot
have,
of kids are ready at 4 years.
we have 7 open enrollment at K4, and the rest are residents. So we're talking
Oh.
24, so it's like 17 kids are resident. 7 are non-resident.
Right,
But then the people who join kindergarten are all residents.
right.
So they usually come in because they come from their K4 or daycare and come here. So,
Okay.
all right,
Wyatt
All right.
loves it, even
You
though he
want to
couldn't
adjourn?
come in today.
yeah,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
in favor?
6:36.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
6:36? We
You
are
asked me to
adjourned.
bring that notebook
Getting up and moving sucks.
I gotta go find a
that,
A what?
She's here?
Huh?
She
A
here?
sharper?
She's in play practice.
Oh, yeah, down in the gym.
Hey Keith, I didn't share the facilities